Next item on our agenda is an update on the opening of the 2020-2021 school year and the return of the high school band. Dr. Rushi?
Thank you, Mr. Feinberg. Here we have a screen very similar to folks. We've been using this and just building upon it from one week to the next. So this evening we'll talk a little bit more about the hybrid model, but then also do a few updates in here as well. You can see we continue to put there the text in red just since we started talking on July 2nd. All the times any of this guidance has changed, and now tomorrow we will be adding in there that CDC did change on July 23rd, and we will be taking a look at that guidance immediately and see what that has in store for us. I'd like to start this evening, however, by talking about why the change from 5 days to hybrid, because that's a theme that we have noticed coming in our questions, and maybe in my discussion last week was not very clear as to why that change came about. And there's a perception that I want to clarify for people are asking, why did the board abandon, or why is the administration abandoning the idea of 5 days with students in school? And that was an option. 5 days students in school was an option that we had presented earlier, and all along had said that on July 16th, we would take a look at the components to a hybrid model. So that the board, our intent all along has been to provide the board with as much information as possible so that there would be a good foundation when we say, and this is the recommendation of the administration, what we are recommending in terms of opening. So I think there was the perception that we then moved away completely from the hybrid just by looking at the model. Well, if you recall last week, we had mentioned that the board meeting started at 7:30, and 3:30 that afternoon had received the information from PDE and from the governor's office as well. And a significant change there really focused on the minimum of 6 feet of social distancing between students and staff. Everything else that we had been reading up until that point clarified 6 feet where feasible. Well, what this information clarified for us is while 6 feet of social distancing, when 6 feet is not feasible, that 3 will be okay. 3 in every classroom is not okay. And so that's when we're saying looking now at that model, we cannot open schools. And back when all of this first started, I had said we would not be able to open schools 5 days a week for all students if we had to comply with 6 feet of social distancing everywhere. So I just wanted to put that out there as a rationale. So there was no directive from the board to abandon that and start looking at the hybrid model. That is the history behind, very brief history behind that change. There are, and you may hear about, some districts that are still going to continue to look to bring students in. I would just ask people to keep in mind that there are so many variables that influence the possibilities that a school can or cannot take into consideration. Some things down to the square footage available in classrooms, the class sizes. And in our district here, and parents of children know, our kindergarten and 5th grade, all the way from kindergarten up through 5th grade, we have classes of 20, 25, 26 children in grades K1 and 2. In our older grades, we at 4 and 5, we have classes that are at 29 students. So when we talk about working with all of the students at 6 feet of social distancing, well, that's very different if there's a district where there are 18 children in the room and we have 29 children in a room. The number of adults that are assigned within a room also comes into play. So if there's a particular program and that program has additional adults in addition to the teacher, That's also something that we have to take into play. And the number of excess spaces that are within a building. We see differences there right across our own district in how much excess space may be able to be created in one building and not a possibility at all in another building. So that just accounts for some of the differences, like why can't everyone do the same thing in surrounding districts? There are different variables and different opportunities that are available to each of us in order to do that. I'm going to bring up a picture and just to remind you what we were looking at. This is the same classroom we saw 2 weeks ago. The picture to the left, the picture to the right, with 3 feet of social distancing, and the picture to the left is that same exact classroom, 6 feet of social distancing. The 3, when we thought that was going to be okay, we even had people look at that and say, well, that looks like the classroom as it has always looked. And that is true, with some excess furniture, bookcases and such having been removed from that classroom. The 6 feet of social distancing, the piece that is required in that new guidance is there has to be 6 feet of social distancing for the teacher. That teacher has to be able to maintain 6 feet of social distancing. And you can see with the picture on the left, it'll be much easier for a teacher to possibly move a little bit around the room. And that comes back to, creating that environment that is somewhat familiar to students, a place where they will feel welcome and want to come in and to engage with their peers and with their teacher. So what we are looking at now is, hybrid and Haverford online. All right, that we're looking at, and that's what we have started to talk about last week. We had our presentation on, Haverford online, and we talked a little bit about what a hybrid model would look like. Our employees want to provide parents with as much information as we can. Many of our employees are parents of young children or school-aged children themselves, and understand the desire to know as much as possible in making this decision. It's not an easy decision to make. Where we can create a picture, we will create the picture. The challenge is that there are some things that we just don't have an answer to at this point in time. Some of it we won't have an answer until we know exactly how many students are going to participate in which one of the 2 options. And some, we need to have more conversations with our teachers to see, what they see as possibilities. And even our speaker tonight, mentioned we've got such great teachers. They're creative, they're innovative. They're going to look at how they can take that environment and make it the best that it can be. In our conversations with staff this week, reminded them the district, the culture, the climate, the sense of community that everyone knows and loves about our district was built over time. And things could grow and change, over time. And now it is the goal of everyone who is working to create that same or very similar culture and climate. They've not lost sight of the importance of doing that. We had our first live meeting this folks to learn about 90 participants on Tuesday evening. We're going to do a similar live sessions for the hybrid model. Because there is such a large interest in that, or large by number interest in that, we're actually going to break those sessions into level. So Tuesday at 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30 for elementary, 7 to 8:30 for the middle school. And then on Wednesday, we will have a session for high school, 5 to 6 o'clock. Our pupil services will do an information session as well. And that date is going to, will be communicated in our communication out to families tomorrow. We just have a few logistics there to finalize and make sure that we can get everyone that we need to be available for that. So we want to answer the questions. We want to give people an opportunity to learn as much as possible about these options. So what the hybrid option, which option to select. And actually, Dave, one of the questions that you were asking of our speaker this evening about, which model and is there a model that is more recommended than the other? Well, that is an area where PDE has been very helpful to us in the study that PDE commissioned that was completed. The focal point of that, and that is on our website for people to go and read it entirely. Part of that study was to look at the number of days that you would be able to be in school before that school would experience 5 positive infections. There's nothing magical. I also want people to hear that does not indicate that when you get to your 5th case that schools are going to shut down or not. That was not, no, go back, Anna. That was not the intent. Anna, can you go back one? Thanks. Back, yeah. That was not the intent. The intent of this study is to look at what type of a setup would increase the chances that you would be able to keep the schools open longer. And the hybrid model there, where you divide your student population in half, and each half attends 40% of the available days, that is predicted to slow the spread of the virus substantially, meaning that it would take 5 times as many days before the school would experience its 5th occurrence. So I may not have gone into as much detail last week. I talked about the 7 different models, and you might remember seeing the pie charts that were there. And I had said blue is good because blue is community spread, the opportunity for the virus to be spreading out in the community, not related to the school, not something that the school can control. And let's look at the really small areas where the school can have some control. So there are 2 aspects when we look at hybrid. One is which model would you consider? And there was a question to look at, possibly some type of a 6-day rotation where we'd have either 3 days in school, 3 days at home learning. However, that would be structured. But the idea was that if we did the 6-day rotation, that there would be more opportunity for contact time with the teacher. And certainly the pros to that, developing and sustaining the relationships. If there's more time that you're able to be in the classroom interacting with one another, we believe that's going to be an outcome of it. And then increasing the opportunity for in-person learning. The more times that the children are in the classroom, just increasing that. The one con to that, and really the one that took it off the table for us, when we looked at the transportation aspect to it, our board members are very familiar with the fact that we transport to over 100 locations. It's not just transporting students to our 7 schools, but to over 100 locations. And that would significantly complicate the transportation aspect because you're going to be dealing with some of the private parochial schools in the area that are going to be on a 5-day schedule. And we're already looking at having students work in 2 different cohorts, and the transportation that will be different on those given days for that as well. And then we also, pointed out that that's not one of the models that was recommended. It doesn't mean that it's not a good model. It just, they did not look at that and really study that to see how you could continue attendance before reaching that 5th occurrence in the district. So the next one that we looked at, and what we had talked about before, looking at a Monday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday, Thursday. The pros being that the contact with the teacher is spread throughout the week. So I see my teacher Monday. The idea is that Monday afternoon, my teacher can queue up what I'm going to do, what I'm going to be working on Tuesday. Over time, maybe there's an opportunity for even some interaction with other students. Not initially, but maybe over time. But then I'm right back in the classroom again. That teacher can queue up what I'm going to be working on Tuesday. And then Friday, our hope is that there's an opportunity for the teachers to bring both cohorts together online, or smaller groups that would be mixed from out, like a smaller group of students from cohort A and cohort B, and bringing those students together. Because we're hoping that we eventually get back into school. This is not, I would not say that the plan that we are laying out, and hopefully that you will approve next week, is the way that we will conclude the school year. I've said to my colleagues in the district, let's just look at September and October, and then see, we can reassess this and see. And you even, heard Jean talk about, if cases decline, if you look at what's going on in your community, then maybe you can gradually start to introduce more into your environment. We did identify cons with this model as well, that it is an interruption to learning, although that could probably be a con for anything that we're talking about this evening. And the coordinations of lessons for A grouping and B grouping will be something additional that the teachers are going to have to work with, and trying to keep that pacing, somewhat similar as they're working with those groups as well. The other model that we had mentioned was having students come Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is the virtual day, and then the second cohort coming Thursday and Friday. One of the pros to that is that we have 2 days, 2 consistent days of instruction. Also a pro that there would be a day of cleaning in between the cohorts. Although I don't know if you are going to weigh or assign a point value to the different elements that we looked at. I don't know how heavily that would be, would count as a pro. One of the cons to that is that there are 3 school days that lapse before the student would see the teacher again. So I would leave my classroom on Tuesday, and then I'm not back again until the following Monday to see the teacher again. And then there's also, we talk a lot about the classroom and what the classroom teachers are doing with the students, but there are a number of other adults whose interactions with the children are just as, and sometimes maybe even more important. And they're people like our school counselors, our social workers, our therapeutic health providers, for them to, it could potentially be a full week before they would have an opportunity to see students and work with them in person. They're still available online, but to be able to work with them in person. The second aspect to a hybrid model that you need to consider, to give consideration to, is how the students are actually cohorted. And we were asked to at least have a conversation internally and look at if we could identify, cohorts by neighborhood. And that the pro to that was, and understandably, and many of my colleagues who are parents of young children thoroughly agreed with this wholeheartedly, that neighborhoods are already supporting one another, and if we are able to cohort by a neighborhood, that support can continue if their children are in school the same days. As we looked at that and engaged in our discussion, we felt that a con, and it may be more impactful in other areas of our district than another area, but that does have the potential to divide the students by demographics, and to possibly alienate families who are not connected and don't have some kind of support. It's also more difficult to keep families together if numbers do not work out for class sizes. So if we're trying to group by neighborhoods, and even within a building, looking at grouping by the neighborhoods, if you've got a lot of children who are one age in one grade level and not as many in another grade level, it's going to complicate, might be too strong of a word, but right now we're looking to not add complicating variables to figure out what we need to do, but to try to look at how we can streamline a process and get information, have a decision made on July 30th so parents can start to plan. That's the other thing that we're hearing, from some people who are giving us feedback. Make the decision. I need to know. Some people have indicated that their employers have already said that they might be able to be flexible with schedules, and they want to know. They want to know, what is it going to be, so that I can, if I have this opportunity, I don't miss it with my employer. So another cohorting model that we looked at was to identify by alphabet, and that is the one that that I mentioned last week. We are able to keep families together. There will be a variety of students who will be placed into the class. Our system is already set up to accommodate this. There's a lot of time that our teachers and building principals at the elementary level really put into identifying those class lists. At the high school level, it's more by the course selection, but those lists have already been identified, and to look at how we could take that and now layer in alphabetically, break them in half in some way. We feel that we can maintain some aspect of having a variety of learners, and a variety of children in that classroom. One of the first cons that we identified for there, is that some class sizes may be uneven with this model as well. And we would need to run that and actually take a look at it and see what modifications, would need to be done. One of our other cons that I'm sorry, the bullet is there, but the item isn't there, but is looking at, we would not say across our district that all students would be divided, like all of the students whose last name begins with A, all up through K will be in cohort A, and students whose last name begins with an L through Z would be in cohort B. That cohorting by alphabet would occur at the building level. The example that I will use for that, A through K in a building with 600 students could very well end up being only 200 children. And A through K in another building might be 350 children. So we're not going to be able to come out and say district-wide, if your last name begins with a K, you are absolutely going to be in school, on this particular day. And just like any other times we do placements, if there are concerns, questions that parents have after that information comes out, we encourage them to, talk with building principals. We always talk through what concerns are about placement and see what we can do to mitigate those concerns, in some way. So not an exhaustive list. I mean, it's a week of looking, really looking at this. For the hybrid model, we are going to be recommending that we do the Monday, Wednesday, because of the importance of that teacher contact and the interaction and the teacher laying out the next level of work that the children and students can engage in, and that the cohort model be approached by alphabet. We can answer more questions about that when we do our live meetings next week for parents. I also wanted tonight to give you a little bit of an update. We issued our parent preference form, and as of 6 o'clock this evening, we had 2,894 responses. Now that represents individual students. Just keep in mind, we need to find out about each student, and some families are choosing different options for their children. Of that number, 2,444 have already indicated that their children will attend the building if it's a hybrid model, and 450 have indicated that they will be participating in Haverford Online. In that parent preference form, we also asked about their intent for transportation. 651 of the 2,894 students represented there will use the School District of Haverford Township transportation. And as of this evening, 311 of the 2,894 respondents expect to use our food service during that time. So in closing here, our timeline, just reminding folks, our information sessions are going to be held the week of July 27th. It's the 30th that we will be asking the board for approval. And I want to kind of help the board a little bit. I want the public to know that what the board is approving is the health and safety plan. And that plan identifies in almost like an outline way what our approach to distancing, masking, screening, hygiene, cleaning of the buildings. It's not solely this. So there's a lot that the board is taking a look at. They have a draft of that document, and there's an opportunity for them to submit questions, submit comments to us, so that we can refine that and get that posted for folks. And we're hoping to have approval of all of that next week. And the parent preference response would then be due on August 1st. We will have concluded all of our live Q&A sessions. We continue to update our FAQ document on the website, and we'll continue to do so based on the questions that keep coming in. I'll take some questions now, and then we do have all of our building principals have put together sort of an overview. Some of them are 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. So there's an overview of elementary and what our health and safety plan would look like in an elementary building. There's an overview of our middle school and an overview of the high school that we'd like to show you this evening. But before we do that, if there are any questions.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Cinto.
Hi, thank you for putting all this together. My question is about the process of our voting to approve the plan next week. It's my understanding that health and safety plan is then going to be submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Cinto.
Okay, so that the Department of Education is requiring that from every district in the state in order to reopen?
Yes.
Okay. And then as the year progresses, if, the fates allow us to, add some more things to the plan to get students back into the classroom safely, would we then have to approve an additional plan at that point? Or is that yet to be determined as things change?
Yeah, that's yet to be determined. We do not have clear guidance on that yet.
Okay, thank you.
Laura?
Dr. Rushi, thank you. This is a lot of work. I know you and all of your team have put into this. I just had a few questions. We haven't heard anything yet about career and technical education, and I was wondering, and also dual enrollment did I say that right? It's 10 o'clock, isn't it? Dual enrollment students, there you go, who are at the community college. I know that we can't go into every single detail of every, possible situation tonight, but if parents had questions about that, are those kinds of questions going to be addressed at the information sessions? Yes.
Okay. The information session. I can very quickly say that the career and technical school is planning to open. So we did receive notification from them, and I'm sure we'll get a copy of their health and safety plan.
Okay, great. And then I had a question about the recommended plan. For teachers, is it easier? Hybrid is challenging. So is it easier for teachers to do this alternating, Monday, Wednesday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, or is it easier for teachers to do like the back-to-back Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday with sort of a planning day or a virtual meeting day in between?
And we had meetings with teacher groups throughout the week, and I don't have hard numbers to put onto it, but it's a personal preference for some, and what they feel they would be able to accomplish with students. So I don't want to say it's definitely one way or the other. What you mentioned, Dr. Crispin, hybrid's hard.
It's hard, I know. I'm preparing for it. It's really hard.
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's what people that's what people are focusing on. You know, how can I do all that I want to do for that model?
Yeah, okay. Because I would like to vote for whichever plan would make it easier on the teachers personally, while still maintaining all of the health and safety protocols to keep our students safe. Because it is a heavy lift. The hybrid is a heavy lift. Okay, so that's helpful to know. And then also, I do feel like the alternating schedule is going to be challenging for working parents who have young kids at home. Do we have a sense that there is going to be you know, childcare available in the township, that there's going to be aftercare available, things like that you know, many of our working families rely on?
Another meeting that I had this week, we invited the child care providers just to a Zoom meeting, talking with them about this model so that they could be prepared. We had also asked them, did they, you know, think about, with some of the colleges and universities going online, you know, maybe reaching out to them and seeing if they could get, you know, more space there. There, two big issues for the providers who joined our meeting. Number one is transportation. And I had said we can't make any kind of commitment to, you know, to assist with transportation. And the second thing they're worried about is Wi-Fi access, which, you know, is interesting. They know that the kids would be coming and have a device with them, and thought it was great that they would be able to support that, you know, in some way. But the facilities that they are in some places do not have, to their knowledge, adequate bandwidth and, you know, the Wi-Fi access for the numbers of students that they're having. They're also concerned about the social distancing and the number of students the number of children that they will be able to, you know, to accommodate. So we're looking at, you know, at our spaces as well. You know, with some might say, well, you only have half of the student body in the building. Yes, but they're spread out by, you know, by 6 feet. We're still using all of the classrooms that, you know, that are there. But we're working on it to see what we can do. It's
okay, great.
For our staff members as well. Our staff members will be in working, and some of their children in the area, you know, we already know some of the districts that have voted and are going with a hybrid model.
Okay. And then my last question is about kindergarten, because kindergarten is half day. So how does that play out in the hybrid scenario? Because it's a little bit different than you know, the full day programs.
And that's another piece that we wanted to take a look at, to see if there was something that we can do maybe a little different with that. And that might depend on what we end up with, how many people using transportation.
Okay.
We can do.
Great, thank you.
Next up, Antoinette.
Sure, thanks. So I actually had a lot of questions on the health and safety plan, the draft that went through. So is now a good time to ask those?
Well, actually, if I can say, like, I sent that as a draft to people that intentionally, so that if you've got questions, like some of your fellow board members have sent me an email with those questions, because some of the things, if you're noticing something that we can fix in it right away, if not, if it's a question piece, then we'll put that together and get that back out to everybody. But if you want to ask a couple of them now, I'll see what I can do. I'm not the sole author of that. That's the only thing.
Okay. That's fine. I guess some of them are more logistical. Well, I guess a couple questions I had that have to do with the hybrid program itself, which because for the middle school and the high school, we have them being, you know, they have, like, I guess we can call it like a 3/4 day in school. They're being dismissed at lunchtime. And I guess I just, with the fact that they're going to be 6 feet apart in the classroom, was it considered for them to eat in classrooms, or have some students have their lunch in their classroom and some students have their lunch in the cafeteria or gymnasium or whatever it may be, in order to achieve the 6 feet of distancing there, which I know I believe the reason that they have to be sent home at lunch is that 6 feet is impossible to achieve in the cafeteria with all of the students there. So I just wanted to know if that was considered.
That is considered, and I don't want to get out in front of anything, but if we can make a change anywhere, it is more likely to be at the middle school, where we are looking to see if that will be possible, what you're talking about there. It comes down to the custodial support that is going to be needed for something like that, the supervision that will be needed when you've got that many small groups spread throughout a building eating. They can't be left alone, and the adults who would be supervising them. At the high school, we do not see how we can accomplish all of that. We are exploring further. The principal, I shouldn't say we, the principal at the middle school has been exploring it further. He would like to, be able to get the kids in school as much as possible.
Okay, great. And then I guess, because one concern I have is about after school sports and after school activities. And because, I mean, right now, in the green phase, I believe sports, and I think your next presentation is on the band, will continue through as long as we remain in green. But if students are being bused home at 12:30, and then, sports or after school activities are supposed to start at 3, they wouldn't be bused back at that time, right?
No, they would not. They would not be bused back at that time. Some of the after school activities like band, chorus, orchestra, the schedule that's at the middle school, those students would not go. They would stay, and then we would bus them home afterwards. You'll hear a little bit about that in Mr. Horan's video. The activities at the elementary school, I don't know about district chorus for the elementary level, how to safely make that work. Jen Saxa has been working with our music teachers, and there may be some virtual things that they're able to get students involved in. Any activity that we can offer, maybe there's something that we're doing a little bit earlier, looking at all of those things that you're talking about.
Yeah, because I guess one concern I have is that, if we have an after school sport at the high school, for example, that a student wants to be a part of, but they don't have a ride back to the high school. And so, they get bused home at 12:30 or whatever the time is, to get sent home for lunch. But they need to come back. And so I'm just concerned that students would be not going home, and having those other 2 hours of instruction, because they feel like it's so important for them to do that after school sport that they don't have a way to get back to.
So I'll take that up with Mr. Dunning.
Sorry, let me just look at a couple other of my questions. And so I guess for the childcare question that Laura had brought up, I guess because in normal times we have, or the district has on-site before and after care. And so are those currently continued to go on as planned, for the cohorts potentially in the, if cohort A student has Monday, Wednesday, their before and after program would run as scheduled Monday, Wednesday. Is that the current plan?
Yes, yes, and they all agree to, and of course they want that, and that's at the elementary buildings, and then also we have the Y providing aftercare at the middle school for our elementary students. They would wish to continue as well.
Right. Okay, great. And then I guess, you sort of alluded to this a little bit with if there are childcare providers that could assist, for the remote days, the district will certainly work with them or help facilitate that, or at least put them in touch with parents and that sort of thing. But was there a discussion about how at that point, they're not actually just doing childcare. They would actually be helping to facilitate the remote learning because, as we've discussed in previous online presentations regarding online learning, the younger students really do need that adult facilitator, to either for the asynchronous learning, or even just to make sure that they're attending their online, live classes to the extent that there are them. Were those discussions had with the child care providers?
Yes, and we're going to do a follow-up once we know what model we're working with, having a follow-up with them. Some of the providers, as it said, they said they will not have the Wi-Fi access. Others feel that they will. So we would have a meeting so that they know what our model now really looks like beyond just cohorting. At this point, we were just talking about the cohort piece.
Okay. And then I guess the last thing that I want to say for the model that the district is presenting as a recommendation is I think that it's also a pro for the Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, for those that receive the free and reduced lunch, because I think that what I saw was that they would actually be given that the day before.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that right?
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that does seem like another area where, the Monday, Tuesday, and then, Thursday, Friday schedule would probably be a disadvantage for those students.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, that's all I have for now. Thank you, Dr. Rucci, for the presentation and for answering the questions.
Bridget?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I had been jotting down some questions, and then you mentioned that there are some videos that I am interested in making sure we have time to get to, because I think those will be informative. But just a couple of the questions or things to, I think, point out for the community's understanding is in this presentation tonight about the hybrid model, we didn't hear much about what the remote learning days might look like. I understand Canvas is going to be the district-wide tool, but it might be helpful to briefly reiterate kind of the expectations on the remote learning days in a hybrid model. And then I had a couple other things, but I can follow up.
So those remote learning days will be a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. Learning. And another advantage that we saw to the Monday, Wednesday is that the teacher could get the children prepared for what they're going to be doing on Tuesday when they're leaving his or her classroom on a Monday. And I would not expect, right away that the teacher is going to say, and on Tuesday, we're all going to get together. But we would hope that they would, eventually start to get to things like that. And it may be a combination of, I want you to watch this this video. I want you to, at the high school level, do a certain type of an experiment. You're going to log back in. You're going to do this group work. So it might be something that and you're going to work as a group, and you're going to start focusing on your project on Tuesday. Here's what I want you to have finished by the time you come back on Wednesday. So it'll be a combination of a lot of that.
Thank you. I noted the lunch service, and I've seen it described as kind of a grab and go or more of a bag lunch. Could you just talk about what people should expect with particularly lunch service at the elementary school and high school, and how it's going to be different than what we had previously been able to serve?
It'll all be cold sandwiches and salads. That's what combination thereof. There will be no hot lunch.
Right. And just one other quick thing in elementary schools, could you just speak to the availability of recess? I know everybody thinks that that's that's an important part of the school day, and one of the kids' favorites certainly, and just what recess might look like, or perhaps that's going to be in the video.
They'll talk a little bit about that and how that's going to be set up at each one of the buildings. But pretty much the 15 children that I am with in my room will be the 15 children that I am with out at recess in a designated area. And then if there are 5 different homerooms of that grade level, They will rotate around to those designated areas. It doesn't mean there are different activities. The one different activity will be the playground equipment, so that they will all get a chance to, have an experience with that during the week.
Next up, Ari.
Thank you, Larry. Dr. Rushi, just a couple of questions. The draft template document on the health and safety plan from PDE is we're up to 66 pages. I don't know if it has any intentions on growing. I assume when we submit it to PDE, it becomes a public document and will be published for community review.
Yes, we'll put it on our website next Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, whenever the board agenda is out, it will be there.
Great. Is there an opportunity to shrink that a little bit so that it's a little easier to digest?
I'm going to assume you're not going to talk about the size of the font.
Yeah, can we shrink that down into a more concise, tighter package for the community to review at all?
I guess I kind of feel like what we've been doing each week in terms of talking, and particularly last week and this week, last week's presentation about Haverford Online, part of last week talking about the hybrid model this week, and then earlier, talking about the cleaning, the sanitizing, the mask requirement. They're really like, if what you're looking for, Mr. Fleischer, like what's that 70,000 foot view, that's really what that is. And then I think once we've got this all mapped out, we know that our building principals are going to start looking at the logistics of what all of that will look like what I just described about, recess. Well, there's going to be a different plan for recess at Manoa from the plan at Coopertown, from the plan at, at Chestnut Wald, and those principals will start communicating that.
Great, yeah, a much easier guide to follow, building specific, grade level specific would, I think, be beneficial. And I do just want to point out one item on page 6 of the plan. It says, inclusion of a diverse group of stakeholders is critical, and this is from PDE, to the success of planning and implementation. LEAs, which is the school district of Haverford Township, correct?
Yes.
Are highly encouraged to make extra effort to engage representatives from every stakeholder group. For example, administrators, teachers, support staff, students, families, community, health official, or other partners, which we obviously have brought in several of those, with a special focus, and this is the most important part to me, on ensuring that the voices of underrepresented and historically marginalized stakeholder groups are prioritized. How are we meeting that recommendation?
I know with some of the staff members who have been, involved with that. I can go back, this was a full team effort, so I can go back and get more specificity about that in particular.
Thank you. It seems like a really important recommendation PDE is highlighting for us.
Yep.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Kristen.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how we're planning for substitutes this coming school year. I'm just thinking about our teachers who will be in the buildings 4 days a week. They may be doing some hybrid instruction on Fridays, or have, they'll have other responsibilities. So they'll be fully engaged with their work. Many of them either live in town or outside of town. Their children may be in some sort of hybrid model of their own for learning. I'm just wondering how we're going to support our teachers in their childcare needs, potentially anticipating for staff members either being out for their own illness, for the illness of their children or other family members who need care. I also know many of our substitutes tend to be retired teachers who come back, and we know that our older community members are at higher risk for complications of COVID. So I'm wondering what our substitute plan is to recruit people, and beyond that, how are we going to be training these substitutes in the protocols for in-class instruction, but also how are we going to support them and train them to teach students online if they're filling in for this hybrid model. And I also know too, with technology, oftentimes you need a district login to get access to Canvas or whatever platform or online platforms are being used. And I'm assuming our subs don't necessarily have Haverford signing credentials. So I just want to make sure that someone's thinking about how substitutes will be trained on, you know, in participating in this hybrid model, but also how we're going to staff our subs.
And in terms of the training and what we're going to do with them, maybe at one of our August meetings, we can talk, you know, a little bit about that in terms of how that's going to work. We don't have all the, you know, all of the answers to the questions. We know there's going to be a shortage of substitutes. It is a concern for all of us. If we can pick whatever model we want, and if we don't have enough adults, we can't open. We can't, you know, sustain and keep our schools moving forward. Mm-hmm. So all the more important reason for all of us to practice all of that good social distance and masking, all of the protocols that Jean talked about earlier tonight. We have asked Kristen, our building principals, to keep a large space in their building undesignated. So like, do not schedule classes in there. Do not, so that in the event, like the planning the level that we're at now for planning is teacher needs to leave during the day. What happens there? So we've asked them to at least leave a large space in the building that is not scheduled, that if you needed to put 2, 3, like, you know, if you have a huge room and you can get people socially distanced in there, to put them in there so that we would have the immediate need you know, taken care of. But, you know, beyond that, you know, we continue, our building principals are doing interviews now for our teaching positions. We are continuing with our guaranteed building subs. And so we do have like an extra substitute at each one of the elementary buildings. We have, I think it's 4 extra substitutes in the middle school and in the high school. We will have 6 days of additional substitute time if we can move forward with our partnership with Kutztown for the reading specialist interns that they want to provide for us. So like, we are starting to take a look at that. Was a plus for that kind of partnership. It was more so the availability of having 6 days of substitute time that we can count on every week. That was very attractive to us with that. So I don't have a long list of, you know, what we are doing, but we are working on it as things become available.
Thanks.
Laura?
There we are. Just something that I just thought of, and I'm not sure if this has come up yet, but thinking of partnering with colleges. I know a lot of colleges in the area have teacher education programs for undergraduates and graduates. And I know that a lot of those students are not going to be able to do their field placements and their, all of that. Is there some way we could partner with these programs to have some of those students in some of these online spaces where that would facilitate more live interaction?
Certainly, to explore it, see what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
We would just have to see what the responsibilities would be, because to provide instruction and work with students, they have to hold their
Of course. Yeah, just something I was thinking of. It could be sort of mutually beneficial for everybody. And we do have a lot of colleges in our area, and almost none of these students are going to get their their field placements or their student teaching done because of all of this. So
teachers.
Hmm?
We are taking student teachers.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
The thing is, you know, this will become someone who is in our building every day and can be there to provide the support. What we feel we cannot take are the, you know, I need to do 10 hours of observation. Like we're unfortunately, we can't continue to support our profession that way. But we will support our profession with student teachers. And that's pretty consistent throughout the county.
Okay, that's great. Good, thanks.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, Dr. Rishi, what do you have for us?
Get your popcorn, sit back. We've got, our principals did a tremendous job. I asked them to, think about what the day would be like in a hybrid environment. And they want to get a positive message out to everybody, that they and their teachers are going to make the best of this situation.
Good evening, Haverford Community School Board, Dr. Rushi, Cabinet. My name is Joel DeBartolomeo. I'm the principal at Chestnut Wallet Elementary School. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity today to share with you a day in the life of our students K through 5, what it would look like in a hybrid model. And here we are taking a look at a day in the life of a student in kindergarten through 5th grade in our hybrid model. Students will be clustered in cohorts of A or B, Mondays and Wednesdays, Tuesdays or Thursdays, kindergarten the same. Online Fridays will be for instruction, focus on interventions, enrichment, and social studies and science. Arrival and dismissal will be extended. We will be flexible. Here you see our instructional day will begin at about 9:10, kindergarten PM, about 1 o'clock. Logistics for the information about arrival dismissal will come from your principal. We're going to take a general overview of the instructional day. Something new that we'll be doing this year, building in some breaks, which will be outside whenever possible. Students could get some movement breaks throughout the course of the day. Hand washing supervision by teachers will also be part of our day. Here we see an instructional day for a student in grades 1 through 5. Each day begins with a morning meeting. That'll be K through 5. English language arts will be between 100 and 110 minutes. Math between 65 and 70. Social studies and science about 30 minutes each day. Instruction for social studies science will be a focus for Friday online sessions. Specials classes will be 60 minutes. Guidance will be its regular 30 minutes. And those classes will get outside for breaks when possible. Here's we see an example of a cohort moving through our specials classes. The same will be in play for kindergarten. And here we see what a kindergarten day might look like. Not too much different from how a kindergarten day would have looked 2 years ago. All of our decision making runs through the lens of our basis group. We are very much focused on the warm and compassionate environments that exist in all of our classes. We want to make sure we sustain the belonging and inclusion that we've worked so hard to build over the past 5 years. Thank you all for your continued patience and support. Be well.
Good evening. My name is Jillian McGilvery. I am the proud principal of Linwood Elementary School. And our hope tonight is to paint a picture of what your child's day might look like following a hybrid model. Here in all of our elementary schools, the most important thing, particularly after we welcome our students back after not seeing them for these long months, is to help our students reconnect with one another, building relationships with each other, reconnecting with children who they may have known last year from class, building some new friends, and really building strong classroom communities. That has always been a priority of ours. It is more than ever now a really, really important piece of what matters most when we're bringing our students back to school. As educators, as parents, as community members, we know that these past few months have been really, really difficult on our children, on all of us, but certainly our children. And it is our hope as the educators here in Haverford to give your child the experiences they need to feel connected to one another and connected to our school communities once again. We'll have some different protocols in place when students are arriving in the morning, when they're walking down the hall, when they're walking out to recess or to the cafeteria, and we'll be maintaining 6 feet of distance, and we'll be going through lots of hand sanitizer. But the things that won't change for your children are the welcoming greetings they receive each morning when they enter the building from staff members, from administrators, from their teachers who they've missed so much. They'll be checked in with and asked, how is your day? How are things going for you? As always, we have a very heavy focus on what we call our morning meeting at the elementary level, which is time dedicated to building that strong classroom community and helping students to connect with one another throughout the day. Those pieces will remain, they'll be in place. It might look a little bit different. Certainly, we know we'll be maintaining social distance in the classroom. We know that half of our students will be present in front of us and the other half of the students will be remote. But we're going to do whatever we can, really looking at all possibilities of how we can create opportunities for students to engage with one another while they're in person, while they're at home. We know that the relationship building and the connections to one another are some of the most important pieces of school, and we look forward to getting back to that. One other piece I want to mention is specials. We also know that kids love specials. They get really excited and talk about what special they have today. Specials will continue, but once again, they'll look a little bit different. The special area teachers will be pushing into the classrooms this year. So music will be in the classroom, art will be in the classroom, library in the room, guidance in the room. PE, whenever possible, we're going to be outside getting some fresh air and playing around. So the schedule will be slightly different. We know that some of the students will be in school 2 days a week, and if some of the students are home from 2 days a week, how can we give those kids the same experience? So, for example, if Mrs. McGilvery's class is scheduled for music on Mondays, perhaps Mrs. McGilvery's class has music for 2 days or for the whole week, and then the next week her class goes to the library for the week, and the next class they go to art for the week, or perhaps it's half a week. So we're working closely with our specials teachers to create a model and a schedule that will work for all, allowing all of our students to experience specials in person and virtually.
Greetings, Hartford Township School District community. I'm Jabari Whitehead, principal at Chatham Park Elementary School. I'm here to talk to you about the classroom. What it's going to be like when your child arrives here at the classroom at any of our elementary schools. First, they're going to get to school. They're going to walk to a cone or designated area that's set up, and they're going to meet a caring adult. It's going to be a teacher. It could be a paraprofessional. It could be me. But either way, they're going to be meeting a caring adult. We have wonderful principals. We have caring teachers. It's going to be great. Now, where do they go next? They'll be physically distanced from one another upon arrival at that home, and they'll follow their teacher into the building, physically distanced, until they arrive to the classroom. Upon arrival at the classroom, they will use hand sanitizer, which will be provided by the teacher as another precaution to get our day started. Now, once in the classroom, what happens next? You might ask. They have morning meeting, just like before. They're going to be wearing masks. They'll be physically distanced at their desk. They'll put their things down at their location. But then the conversation starts. They'll talk about the weekend. They'll talk about what happened the night before. The teacher will ask questions. They'll be able to play games that are physically safe, physically in a healthy manner, physically distant, so they can still connect with one another. They'll build bonds and friendships in this smaller environment because we only have half the students in. So there's a little gift there this time around. We have an opportunity for teachers to build even deeper relationships with this smaller group each day that they're here. Then the day moves forward. There's language arts, there's math still, there's special ed classes look a little differently, where the specials will come to the classroom. But either way, we still have caring adults who provide the meaningful instruction, provide even more feedback, even more frequent feedback to help your child succeed. There'll still be enthusiasm. There'll still be caring adults. And we'll create a vibrant environment here at the school. Student work on the walls will still be there. Artwork will be all over the building. A celebration of our students still will take place here in our classes. Then your child will go home. They'll be able to do the work provided. And then the next time they return, the same thing will occur. I'm excited about this. The principals are excited about this. The teachers are eagerly excited. They're thinking about how are we going to do our best for our children of this school district. And guess what? Our best is only the foundation for being even better. Parental involvement, we're going to involve our parents as well, virtually, physically distanced if there's opportunities for that, but we're going to find a way. Yes, we will. I'm Jabari White, I'm the principal of Chatham Park Elementary School. Oh, I forgot one thing. We'll make sure you know. Arrival will be staggered and dismissal will be staggered. Other than that, other than the mask, other than making sure our children learn, we're just going to build relationships and make sure every child is successful. Jabbar Whitehead, Principal of Chatham Park. Thank you. All right, are we on our healthy spots? Yes. Okay, so we are gonna play a game, a healthy game. We're going to test each other on our multiplication facts. Are you ready? Yes. Youngest first. Get it started.
What's 9 times 5? 9 times 5 is 45. What is 8 times 7? 56.
Good evening, Haverford families. My name is George Ramundos, and I'm the proud principal of Manoa Elementary School. The purpose of this video is to show you the day in the life of our elementary students utilizing the cafeteria when we come back to school. When we're coming down to the cafeteria, it is going to be essential that we're washing our hands. It's important that we're washing our hands thoroughly, counting for 20 seconds or singing happy birthday twice. Students will have the opportunity to wash their hands at the bathroom or in their classrooms. We're going to come into the cafeteria, and once we come into the cafeteria, we're going to find our assigned cohort spot and then also our assigned seat that we are going to be sitting in the cafeteria. I'm going to sit down now with Maximus and enjoy my lunch as well. Hey Maximus, how are you? Good? How's everything going? Good? Yeah, I know I need a haircut. I get it, but yeah, I'm excited for the kids to come back too. Really excited.
Hello, elementary families. My name is Beth Mastrocola, and I'm the principal at Coopertown Elementary School. A primary focus for the upcoming school year will be allowing students and teachers to get outside as much as possible. There are many benefits to this, but we will primarily focus on mask breaks, taking in some fresh air, and also taking advantage of the many mental health advantages that come from being outside. Each elementary school principal is assessing their outdoor space and allocating space to each teacher. This will be true for recess, additional breaks, as well as for outside learning opportunities. I am standing outside a 4th grade classroom at Coopertown. We have set up an opportunity for a class and their teacher to perhaps do yoga, their SSR time, or maybe even to learn a TikTok dance with the whole class. We have very imaginative students and teachers at all of our schools, and we know they will make the best of this outside opportunity. We might ask you to send in some beach towels. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Dan Horan, the principal of Haverford Middle School. I will be reviewing a proposed plan for the upcoming school year and giving you a glimpse of what a day in the life of a middle school student may look like. We know that returning to school next year will be different for all of us, and we appreciate that we have the time and forum to explore opportunities for our kids, families, and staff. We are planning, as we always do, to provide a challenging and supportive school experience for our school community. I would like to introduce and commend our administrative team who have been working so hard this summer to prepare for the upcoming school year. Matthew Crater is the 6th grade administrator. Randy Taylor is the 7th grade administrator. Erica Harvey is the 8th grade administrator. And Jessica Gondak is the coordinator of secondary special programs. We are all committed to serving our staff, kids, and families. We take great pride in creating a safe, welcoming, and nurturing environment for our school community. Our team has been built with a primary focus on building and maintaining authentic relationships. We know how important relationships are to the success of our staff, kids, families, and community. Our focus and challenge for the upcoming school year will be on continuing to build and maintain these authentic relationships. We understand that the health and safety of our staff, kids, and families is paramount. The school district's health and safety plan will articulate expectations and planned action to guide our school community on how to address distancing, sanitizing and hygiene, masking, and screening and monitoring. The focus of recent discussions has been on a hybrid model, and we will explore what that model may look like at the middle school. We would divide grade level kids into 2 groups who would attend school on 2 consecutive days each week. Our teachers believe that 2 consecutive days of face-to-face teaching would be most beneficial. We would take a grade level and separate them into 2 groups, an A cohort and a B cohort. We would also divide kids within their grade level as well into cohorts according to their math class. That will give us the ability to have the smallest class sizes and keep our leveling structure in place. This is our proposed 6th grade schedule for our hybrid model. You will see that students will begin arriving to school as early as 7:30. They will go to their homeroom and remain in that homeroom with their cohort for the day. Students will not travel from class to class in the middle school. Staff will travel and meet students in the appropriate classrooms. Our 6th graders will attend 2 core classes after homeroom. They will have a short 26-minute break after their 2nd core class. That break will serve to meet several needs. We will be giving our kids the opportunity to have a snack, perhaps take a movement or mask break, and we will also build in some unified arts instruction during that time. After their break, they will attend their 3 remaining core classes. Our plan is to dismiss our bus students at 12:30, and they have the opportunity to have a grab-and-go lunch if they like. Our walkers will be dismissed at 12:35. They will also have the opportunity for a grab-and-go lunch. Specialized music programs like band, chorus, and orchestra may remain at school from 12:30 to 1:30 to have that specialized music instruction. All of our students, when they return home at some point, whether they're the specialized music students or the students who are dismissed at 12:30 or 12:35, will be expected to participate in their unified arts instruction that will be offered online through synchronous and asynchronous teaching and learning opportunities. This is our proposed 7th grade schedule in our hybrid model. It's almost identical to the 6th grade schedule, with the only difference being the time for the scheduled break during the day. Our 7th grade students will have their scheduled break after their 3rd core class. This is our proposed 8th grade schedule in our hybrid model. Again, the schedule is identical to 6th and 7th grade, with the only difference being the time for their scheduled break. The 8th grade students will have their scheduled break after their 4th core class. This slide details core classes at the middle school. Language arts and math classes are leveled by ability and performance in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Science and social studies classes are leveled by ability and performance in 8th grade. World language is considered a core class in 8th grade. And our levels are determined by the use of multiple data points and professional input from teachers, curriculum coordinators, and administrators. Core class periods at the middle school will be 47 minutes long. 6th and 7th grade students will have 2 periods of language arts. 8th grade students will have 1 period of language arts. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students will have 1 period of math, science, and social studies. And our 8th grade students will have 1 period of language arts per day. The Unified Arts classes will support the core content area classes and provide a daily exploratory experience. Daily interdisciplinary experiences and a 26-minute scheduled lesson or break opportunity will occur for our students. And our students will also continue their learning when they return home after dismissal. Our core and unified arts teachers will work together to deliver instruction that supports academic integration, as well as providing opportunities to experience new relationships between content areas. We know that our kids will need brief, well-designed, research-based breaks in school to prepare their brains for learning. Brain breaks will be targeted to support students. Our kids will also need moments when they can safely remove their masks as well. Scheduled opportunities with supervision and adherence to our health and safety plan will be provided to allow students the opportunity for brief breaks during the school day. We will continue to support our kids who have special needs, specially designed instruction, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy will be provided in a combination of virtual and face-to-face settings. Students who have an IEP, GIEP, 504, or EL needs will be supported by our student support team. Our student support team is quite lengthy, includes our parents, administrators, teachers, specialized staff, and a whole host of professionals that are ready, willing, and able to support our students and families. We always focus on new initiatives at the middle school. Next year, we will be focusing on our health and safety plan, building relationships, our One to World Chromebook initiative, our Haverford Online initiative, and working with students and staff to increase club and community service opportunities. At the middle school, we are excited to work through these challenges together to support our kids, families, and community. Our staff is looking forward to working with you and your family next year. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we look forward to seeing you at the beginning of the school year.
Hi, good evening. This is Pete Donaghy. I just wanted to run through a day in the life of a Haverford High student in our new environment. Our administrative team that's really been doing a great job helping myself the whole summer is listed here. You can see the assistant principals, tech coordinator, Ms. Hayes, who is retiring, Ms. Gondak, coordinator special programs, and also Ms. Patterson is retiring also this summer, but we do have Ms. Robtison starting next week. So we're happy to have her on board and working with Ms. Patterson for the rest of the summer in our plans. Our main goal is to reconnect and connect the students. So each year we connect the students in September, but we want to reconnect them to school. They've been out since March, which will be 6 months, which is a long time. So you can just see some of the different ways we're going to reconnect them in person and online. First time ever we're doing an on-person and inline model, which you will see to start a school year. So that's something different. And also we want to resume our extracurricular activities, whether that's in person or on a Zoom or Google Hangout. We want to reconnect the students and get them connected to as many extracurricular activities as possible to continue to build our community through our new methods and ideas. So it's very important the first week of school we orient them to the new environment. So our schedule, we had a lot of questions on what a schedule would look like at the high school level. We're looking at 65-minute blocks, 4 blocks a day, each block, and a hybrid model, which I'll go over in a couple minutes. The hybrid model would allow us to distance at 6 feet very easily in class, and it would also decrease traffic in the hallway. And then with our hybrid model in the afternoon, when the students are at home or on their way home, we want to provide the 3 E's for them, which is extracurricular activity, enrichment, and extra assistance if needed. And I'll show you that in a second. And then we have a bunch of different models we're ready to go with, a bunch of different hybrid models. We have a day-to-day model also. We have all different kinds of models, but we obviously feel the hybrid model would work in the 6-foot social distance world. And we want to link the students up with their classmates who, the other half of the class that's not there. We want to link them up each week online with their teacher, at least 1 day a week. And then we're doing a great job with Canvas on making sure all our courses are on there. The teachers have been really working hard this summer to get everything on Canvas. And it's been wonderful. And each year, all of our freshmen are taught in their science classes how to use Canvas. So the only group that we need to get up to speed is our freshmen. So there's just a quick daily schedule. So we'd run through the blocks 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'd stagger dismissal at the end. So you can see there's 65-minute blocks. And then we would have grab and go lunch. I just gave you an example of band, orchestra, chorus sectionals would occur. You know, we're working that out. And then at the end of the day, we would have enrichment, extra assistance, and extracurriculars, either in person when we can, or we would do it online through Zoom or Google Hangouts for students who weren't in school that day also, who needed a little bit extra assistance or wanted some clarification on what is going on, you know, in school that they learned the day before. So here's the model, 7:30 to 12 in school, grab and go lunch, and then the 3 E's start at 12 o'clock. And then arrival and dismissal, just to give you a glimpse, the students would come in, go right to their first block class. They'll go directly to their first block class, and they would sit in their assigned seats so that they're not, you know, putting themselves in harm's way in any fashion. Arrival is staggered. It's naturally staggered with students coming in at different times. The buses usually arrive by 7:10 each day. VOTEC students head to their VOTEC buses. Walkers usually arrive between 7:10 and 7:25. So arrival is normally staggered. And then in the afternoon, we would do staggered dismissal where bus riders would go first to get the buses off and running so they can get to their next stop, whether it be the middle school or the elementaries. And then we would do walkers and anyone who drives to school, parks in the neighborhood. And then we would have the 3 E's would start at dismissal. So it'd be a natural stagger, which would keep students at the safe distance from one another. And then safety, our safety plans, we've been working very hard. Tonight you'll hear about our marching band safety plan. So we've been working hard with the teachers. We had a faculty meeting last week to go over safety initiatives. But we have some really good support. Our nurses, we have 2 nurses in our nurses office and a nursing assistant daily. We have already begun to speak with the custodial staff and facilities about cleaning and sanitizing. And then our social distant classrooms are coming together. And then we're continuing all of our safety plans for not just the school day, but after school activities. Ms. Patterson's putting a lot of time in with the athletic directors around the Central League to try to figure out athletics. Again, marching bands this evening, and we're beginning to talk about our larger extracurricular events and activities and how that would work. And then our masks and shields, hallway personnel, our staggered arrival and dismissal, and then our at-home support. We're beginning to really correspond well with the parents. They're giving us their feedback, and they're going to be a vital part of keeping everyone safe. And then our support personnel, we have a great deal of support at the high school. We always have. We had this support well before any pandemic occurred. And you can see the different people listed there who help our plan, help all of our students, help our students who have plans and programs that they need to make sure that they can get their support in school and online each and every day. So you just see our team there of different people who help out. And then just to summarize, we have a new schedule, but we're looking at this for the same great results. There's some things that are new that we have to create, and then there's other things that aren't new that we have to make sure we continue to do them well. So we need to connect after our long layoff, make sure our support systems are in place, make sure that our new schedule works for everyone, both at home and at school. And then, as always, safety first. So just like my colleagues talked about tonight, we need to make sure safety's first. We reconnect with the students, and we have a great year. So thank you for your time, and thank you for all your planning and each Thursday night putting in the time to make us successful. And we want to, thank the community members that are watching tonight too, and thank you for being so attentive to our needs and working with us in our partnership. So thank you, and have a great day.
Mr. Feinberg, the principals are not here this evening. I am sure they are in the audience in some fashion, but we do not have them as part of the panel. Many of these details do not end up being part of the health and safety plan, but I hope that this gives a little bit of insight and helps both the board and members of the public to see that our principals are looking at the logistics. They're really getting into the detailed level of what this environment can look like in each of their buildings. Any of our board members are welcome to attend the drop-in meetings that are scheduled next week, and that's the principals will be in attendance at those meetings. It'll be run very similarly to the way we ran the Haverford Online, if anyone was able to participate in that.
I want to thank all the principals. This was very helpful. I think that hopefully the folks in the community will feel likewise.
To that end, is this going to be posted online?
Yep.
These videos? Okay, great. I think, again, just like Larry said, these were really wonderful videos, and I think they're going to be really helpful. So thanks for posting them.
We won't ask you which was your favorite.
Susan has her hand up.
Larry, I would just like to say, as a parent, I think all these questions that we've had tonight from my colleagues and from all the parents that I've seen online are always about such specificity. And the one thing that none of us know is specificity. But I want to congratulate the principals on really showing us what would a day look like. Now we know we're using Haverford curriculum, and we're going to work with it as best as we can. Kids are going to come to school, they're going to have morning meeting, and life will go on for them socially and emotionally. So I congratulate the principals especially on a job well done and thank them. That's it, no question.
Thanks, Susan. Bridget?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, watching the videos, I think they did a great job of really kind of answering a lot of the intangibles about what the school experience may look like. And for me as a parent trying to decide, I will say last week I was completely swayed by the Haverford Online and impressed and leaning that way. And this additional information has been very helpful, but is maybe making my household's decision just that much harder because this looks great too. And I appreciate that, you know, this level of thoughtfulness is being able to be shared. And so people can really kind of visualize what the experience might look like in this these uncertain and challenging times. So thanks for those videos.
Thanks for sharing that, Bridget, because part of the message that we want to get across, you know, we know people aren't choosing Haverford Online because they don't want to be part of the school community, and people are not choosing the hybrid because they don't want to do something else. No one wants the situation that we're in right now. So the most important thing for us to get across to parents is it is your choice. We recognize that, and whatever you choose will be the right choice for your family. Please feel confident that our administrators and our teachers are going to do everything they can to make that experience the best experience, and not that one is better than the other, but the best experience for the children who are participating in it for whatever reason. Mr. Feinberg, if there aren't any other questions, we do have one final video. There have been lots of questions about the band, our marching band, and how the marching band is going to return. This is not something that requires a plan to be brought before the board, so that it's not a plan that you will be voting on. Our staff have worked very carefully to look at the model for return to athletics and what makes that different in terms of bringing the band back. And there have been lots of questions that the high school has received about that. So we would like to, Mr. Dunnigy and I are giving approval for the band to begin their plans for coming back, and we'd like to show you why.
Great.
This is a summary of the marching band health and safety plan for Haverford High School, developed on July 13th and revised on July 20th. Scope and application. The band program at Haverford High School consists of 6 performing ensembles. For this plan, we are concerning ourselves with the highlighted groups, competition marching band and football band. As is the case for athletics, this plan applies to the green phase only. Preparation. All band families and band staff should refamiliarize themselves with the current COVID-19 symptoms. And here they are. This is from the Pennsylvania Department of Health website. The goal of this presentation is to provide a summary framework for minimizing risk to band students and band staff during summer marching band practices and band camp itself. Screening. Screening begins at home with a pre-screening. Students and parents will be provided with a chart of screening questions. Upon pre-screening at home, if a student answers yes to any screening question, they should remain at home and notify the band director right away. Once at rehearsal, the band director will ask each student and staff member the same screening questions. If a student or staff member answers yes to any screening question, they will need to leave rehearsal. Environment. Rehearsals will be held outdoors only. For marching band, outdoor rehearsals are considered best practice. That is a quote from the recent aerosol study. The only time students or staff would enter the building would be to use the restroom or to move large school-owned instruments outside at the beginning of rehearsal and then back inside at the end of rehearsal. Band lockers will not be used for the storage of portable student-owned or school-owned instruments. Hygiene. Students and staff should wash their hands prior to every rehearsal. Students and staff will provide their own large, clearly marked water jugs for each rehearsal. No wind instruments will be shared. School-owned percussion instruments, accessories, and cases will be wiped down after every rehearsal. Percussionists will bring their own sticks and mallets. Students will be encouraged to clean and disinfect their instruments at the end of every rehearsal. Students and staff will be encouraged to shower upon returning home from rehearsal. Masking. All staff members will be required to wear a non-valve style mask at rehearsal. We need to stay away from any mask that has a round valve on the side of it. Those masks are not effective. All students must wear a mask when they are in the school to use the restroom or situations occur that might make maintaining 6 feet of space between individuals difficult. For example, entering or exiting the practice field. Distancing. At rehearsal, all students and staff will maintain a minimum distance of 6 feet between individuals at all times. When in basics block, warm-ups, or in drill, spacing between individuals will be set at 4 marching steps, which equals 7.5 feet. So we're actually going beyond the recommended 6 feet. Students and staff will avoid congregating before or during rehearsal or during breaks. Different sections of the band will have designated drop-off and pickup areas to promote distancing between individuals and vehicles. Students should travel to and from rehearsal only with members of their own household. Communication. Any band student or staff member who has tested positive for COVID-19 or who has answered yes to any pre-screening question should contact the band director right away. This plan is subject to change given current metrics in our area. If Delaware County moves into a yellow or red phase, we will carry out both our competition band and football band seasons virtually. And this mirrors the Haverford athletics plan of only doing in-person during the green phase. Any changes will be communicated by the band director in consultation with the principal. What's next? Pending approval, marching band activities will commence as outlined in this summary and in the larger PDE health and safety plan template. For competition marching band, which is our extracurricular marching experience, electronic sign-up materials, schedule, and an acknowledgement for families to review and sign will be posted to the band and orchestra parents' websites. Voluntary practices will begin in late July. Band Camp Week 1 will begin 2 weeks prior to the first student day, which would be the week of August 17th. For football band, which is our co-curricular marching experience, A schedule and acknowledgement for families to electronically review and sign will be posted to the band and orchestra parents' websites. Band Camp Week 2, which is when football band comes, will begin 1 week prior to the first student day, which is the week of August 24th. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for updates. This is a summary of the marching band.
As I mentioned, it's not a requirement that the board review and vote on the plan. However, we wanted you to be aware that those students, if all goes as planned, should be returning and able to engage in that level of activity at the high school. And to let you know, for those types of activities, that is what Mr. Donaghy and I have asked of the groups to submit things like that.
That's great. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none. Anything else, Dr. Rushi? Can I move on?
You can move on. Thank you.